Welcome to the Land Investing Business Secret Podcast, where each short episode we talk about the strategies, experiences, and the tools to help you launch, grow, and scale your land business. Learn how to find freedom within your own business, find out ways to build consistency in your processes, and hear how other everyday land investors are winning so you can get to the next step closer to building your dream life through your land business. And I'm your host of the Land Investing Business Secrets Podcast by Pebble, Jessey Kwong. Hey, how's it going? It's Jessey here from the Land Investing Business Secret Podcast by Pebble. I've got a great guest. Actually, he's been on the show before on episode number 40. A lot of you may have heard of him. His name is Paul Brewer. And to be honest, this show was a little bit unexpected. I didn't know how to go about this. And boy, was there a lot of lessons learned. Paul is concise. I want to make sure that you guys listen to this episode because he shares a lot and really what's been going on with him the last little while. I did notice that he has stepped away, but I'm going to save that for the show. This show is brought to you by Pebble. If you are looking for a simple system and powerful system with a lot of flexibility to allow you to scale, to buy back time, to really put you back into the passenger seat of your business and find freedom within your business, please make sure you check out pebblerei.com. That is Pebble. You've probably heard of it and a lot of other land investors using it. If you'd like to see if this is a good fit for you, please make sure you hit the book a demo button on the top right. Happy to chat with you. But Pebble really is your command center for your land business, helping you with your outbound marketing, tracking leads, document generation. Everything is property data driven inside of the system. Okay, so managing all of your property as well, communications, et cetera, really building out the processes for your land investing business. So make sure you head over to pebblerei.com, hit the book a demo. It is with me, a one-on-one demo to see if it's a good fit for yourself. Other than that, guys, I hope you get tons out of this episode here with Paul. Enjoy. Hey, how's it going? It's Jessey here from the Land Investing Business Secrets Podcast, here with a guest I've had. He was on episode number 40, Paul Brewer, the famous Paul Brewer, who is famous for helping people, just always contributing. Paul, how you doing?
I am doing good. It's good to be back, and it's actually been a while. Yeah, I had to look back at my calendar. It's almost a year and a half since we chatted.
Yeah, no, for sure. It has been a while, and you're someone, I don't know if you know, you're someone that pops up in my conversations a lot that I typically bring up. You know, a lot of people ask me, you know, one of the things you mentioned a long time ago was I asked you, you know, how do you pick a county to work out of? And, you know, one of my guests, one time he said he works out of some of the most busiest counties, and he was finding deals in there, and there was good reason why he went out there to kind of work in those areas and, you know, to get his feet wet and get started in those areas. So I'd love to, well, first of all, before we start picking your brain, how have you been? What have you been up to?
Oh, man. Yeah, I have been good. It has been crazy. As we all know, the last 2 years have been absolutely nuts. I actually was that close to shutting down the business beginning of 2022.
Wow.
A story for another time, but another mentor came along and pulled me back in. So I'm in the middle of a version 2.0. So our conversation today, I noticed some of the questions you sent over. I'm going to be referencing, here's how I did it in version 1.0. And here's how I'm changing to not be so stressed out in version 2.0. So other than that, man, it's good. Family's good. Great to be here.
And you're open to sharing a little bit of what you kind of went through there earlier this year, maybe on a very light side?
You know me, I'm an open book. I have no secrets. If I can help someone else not do what I did, then by all means, it'll be worth it in the end.
Well, the last time we spoke, I know you were doing a tremendous amount of deals, and you were really, really busy. Not only that, I don't think the listeners know, and I haven't been updated by you. We're literally catching up on this call here. At that point in time, you were also a full-time firefighter. Are you still doing that as well?
Yes, and that has actually gone into full-time plus 50%. There's a nationwide shortage of 20% for firefighter paramedics. So
My
that
gosh.
means not only do I work my 56 hours a week, that usually ends up another 24 to 48 hours per week. So that's part of what ended up burning me out about a year ago is that work-life balance, right? You've got your work, you've got your family, and then you've got your side hustle. It needs to go family, work, side hustle. So I had all my priorities all mixed up,
Yeah.
but I've since straightened them out, and that's where I'm at now.
I mean, tell us what that was like. I'm sure you were going through a lot. You're quite busy. I
Yeah,
recently seen you a little bit more active, so I'm assuming that you're
yeah.
stepping back into into the land space. But tell us, as much as you want to share it. I won't pry with this. What sort of happened and what sort of
Yeah.
transpired.
Yeah, so like on the first podcast I hit the ground running, right? I did a midlife change into a new firefighting department after 15 years, which is not normal. So all the stresses of starting over at ground zero and having to work your way back up.
Yeah.
Um, Found land investing late 2018, did one deal by chance and luck, and it worked out. So it was proof of concept. So hit the ground running with some training courses in 2019. And between 2019 and the beginning of this year, so 2022, we did 150 deals in and amongst everything we were doing. Most of that was, owner financing, which I have since grown to loathe. I absolutely hate it. When you have a full-time job and other responsibilities, if land's your only thing, then absolutely go with a good, solid portfolio of notes to help keep that income steady.
Yeah.
But my mind has shifted as to that. So that's what burnt me out at the beginning of the year. And then another mentor, I guess you've had on before, Travis Keene, came around. I got connected to him through a completely side business. My thing that I'd resorted to kind of take the stress off the land was building websites, automations, streamlining processes for real estate investors to kind of help them
Yeah.
get out of that automation. I'm stuck. I can't figure out what process to do. So he had me
Mm.
do some work for his company, which kind of slowly brought me back into land investing and doing things at a much smaller scale. We're looking at 2 to 5 deals a year,
Yeah.
maybe all cash, higher price points, a lot more work on the front end and a lot more negotiations back and forth, but using all real estate agents, title companies to do all of your closing. And the selling I have found is one of the hardest things to manage. I had a team of 7 people at one point doing all that for me. The other thing is that they all quit in February of this year, not because it was anything of my business. They just happened to get better offers and couldn't.
Mm.
I was a low man. I had the fewest hours, so they had to move on, which is I'm great. They're all doing absolutely great now.
Yeah.
But all that kind of hit at once, and I was like, I'm it. I told my wife, we're done with land for a while. It was fun. We're going to manage these notes I've got out for the next 5 years. It was a fun experiment. Maybe I'll pick it up later. And then 2 weeks later, I
Yeah.
met Travis.
Wow.
So there's the dime store version.
Wow, wow, wow. So you did go through quite a bit. I mean, let me ask you this. Why in the first place did you feel like so compelled to push so hard in terms of the amount of properties you were doing? Was it the fact that everybody else was doing, or you were just really in it? Were you caught up? What was the driving factor with that?
Yeah, I'm learning to control my. It's a good and a bad habit. When I get on something, I take it to its fullest and I keep going. Unfortunately, forsaking some of the things and signs along the way telling me I shouldn't. So that's I got kind of just caught up in that rut. I was in that track, going full bore. And yes, do have aspirations of eventually being able to leave the fire service earlier rather than later. It is a young man's game. It's my back is sore all the time. So there's aspects of my job I absolutely love, aspects I know that are going to get me at some point. So wanting to make sure I had that exit door, that exit, ready to go. I think that's what drove me along the way. I have
Yeah.
since stepped back, a little self, realization, realize, hey, slow this down. I've got some years. We're going to get there. No need to push and kill yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so. I just had a conversation with two sisters about this. I just had a conversation with, you might know Carl. He's also been around in the
Mm-hmm.
community as well, but just sort of like every learning to pace yourself. And
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's so important. And I think sometimes we get caught up in this community and we really want to be a part of it and drive. And we're sort of surrounded by it nonstop. And I think that's really cool. I mean, it's not a great thing that you have to kind of go through that, but I think your journey is really cool, and I'm starting to hear this. Like people are like listening to themselves now, like, hey, I can run this however I'd like. At the end of the day, I know I have options as to how I want to run this, whether I want to go full speed or not. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I think this is for all entrepreneurs too. Like, be very clear about how you want to go about your business, and health first, family first, because burnout is real, isn't it, Paul?
Big time. I've gone through it on both my career as a firefighter and the land, so I've got both to pull from. I know the warning signs a little better now, but the thing is, just for people to remember, you don't need to burn your ships to get out and launch. Get out and launch. Take your time. Do the right steps. Put the right people and processes in place. Good book I just read. I wish I had read it a long time ago. It's called Who Not How by I think Dan Sullivan.
Yes.
That kind of like, oh, duh, hello, mindset shift for me. So now I'm working on making sure I get the right who's in place before I start to scale up, which is why I'm aiming for 2-3 deals in this new method of land. So just let's get my feet wet in this new thing and start out slow. We'll get there eventually. Rome wasn't built in a day, and neither is your land business.
I love that. And, Paul is one of those people, if you guys don't know, he's been like super integral in this land business in the community. And anyways, Paul has always been helping people. He's got a great a breakdown for Airtable as well. He's helped a lot of people with that. He's all about systemizing, and I don't want to send a flood of people your way, but if you ever come across, be conscious of Paul's time. If you ever had a question here, there, he's a man to ask a little bit. But anyways, I should be very cautious about that. But nonetheless, so it's been a few months, and you got involved with Travis, our good friend Travis King there, and helping him. And I love how you're sort of pacing yourself, and it sounds like you found a lot of clarity as to how you want to run this and how you want to have a grasp of your life. It's funny how business can end up controlling your life. Can you, like, you mentioned, you said some warning signs, like, do you mind, sharing that with us, as to when things get a little bit out of control?
Oh, absolutely. So when you wake up and look at this first, when you go to the bathroom and this comes with you, and what could have been a couple minute trip is like a 10 or 15 minute trip. When your wife looks at you funny every time you pick up your phone or hop on your computer, those are some of the warning signs that maybe you're out of balance. The other thing that I'm trying to realize is I just read the book, The One Thing. And when it comes to your business, pick the one thing that you need to fix and do now to get your business to the next step. And there's no time frame that this needs to happen, right? I mean, yes, absolutely, there are house on fire things that need to get fixed, right? Your note defaults. You got to take care of that, right? Something like that. But pick that one thing to help move your needle forward. Don't get caught up in all of the this, that, squirrel, I'm chasing this, that. That's kind of where I came into my second niche, which is helping real estate investors kind of figure out their system so that they can focus on the client interactions and making the sale, which is what makes you the money in the business, right? But maybe the who on the backside says, why don't you put this drip email sequence in place? Why don't you put, this thing with either Airtable or ClickUp or whatever you want to use in place? Let's figure that out so that you don't run into things that burn you out. Because I've noticed technology, a lot of people just don't like it. They don't get along with it. It's fine, but it is an integral part in this business, having those systems in place so that either you can eliminate a VA position you don't need, or you can free up that great VA to do some more work, like more intake or more client interactions or sales or something like that. So,
yeah, it sounds like it's all about buying back time at the end of the day, leveraging people, leveraging systems. There's a great book that I'm reading right now, and I feel embarrassed. I don't even know the author here, but if let me look it up right now, but it's called Systemology. And it's a great one in terms of how do you go about documenting your process? Because a lot of times we end up documenting, we never actually look back at it, and it's hard to maintain. And the book is by a fellow named David Jennings. I'm actually trying to get him onto the podcast here as well to talk about, how do we build out documentations? How do we build out SOPs for a small team specifically? And a lot of us come from that solopreneur background, and we're good at doing everything, and then we get involved with everything, and we soon realize it's hard to pull ourselves out of it. So that is super cool. So what has it been like working with other people and helping them get system? What are some of the challenges you typically come across? I guess repeatable tasks or workflows. What are you seeing out there, Paul?
Yeah, workflows is a big thing. Getting drip email campaigns. Do you need to get drip email campaigns? There's so much information out there nowadays. I mean, even back in 2018 when I started, there wasn't a ton. So in the last 3 years, information for this particular niche has exploded onto the market. So you've got like 10 different land educators out there, and they all have their spin on it. So what I try and tell folks is pick your one. I don't care what you want to do. Travis King, the Land Geek, whoever you want to do, pick it, stick with it, and then kind of niche down into what you want to do. And here's the biggest thing that people don't realize is when you're doing a process, you might be great at it. Eventually, you need to get rid of it. So pay for the Loom subscription or another, screen casting, screen recording subscription. And every time you go through a process, record it step by step with you talking through it so that you have that for your VAs. Because unfortunately in this business, the VAs typically don't stay around long. As I learned, I lost 6 in a 1 month period, right? I had some training stuff done and others that other VAs had just trained the next one that came on. So I didn't have some of that training. So I've had to go back and take some of my own advice, but getting all that training so you can literally bring in a new VA, give them the videos. I'm going to pay you 5 hours, watch these, come back with questions, and we'll go from there. So that's been a big one. It's just that little piece right there saves so much time on the back end that I think Scott Todd at one of his classes said, if you're not willing to invest 30 hours into your employee or your VA, then it's not worth hiring them in the first place. So, or something to that effect. So put the hours in on the front end, but you don't have to do it once if you record everything. So that saves a ton of time right there.
I know you're enjoying the show episode so far, but I wanted to let you know that if you are looking to build or scale a serious land business, perhaps a 6-figure second income or eventually a 7-figure land investing empire, Travis King's company, Land Investing Mastery, has the most current and innovative education in the space. Travis goes beyond the traditional microflip that you might be familiar with and shows you how to 10x your deal size and execute on strategies like subdividing, portfolio takedowns, land sniping. We're talking 6-figure per flip strategies. If you're getting your education from someone who isn't actively investing, you're more than likely going to hit some plateaus as you try to scale. If you want to learn how to avoid the saturated red ocean markets, skip over the small stuff, and learn how to become a boss land investor, then Travis is your guy. Travis has completed nearly 1,000 coaching calls in the last 2 years that I've known him, and he has his pulse on the market. He will tell you, though, Land Investing Mastery is not a factory. They're a boutique agency built on transformational, life-changing results. You see, I'm in a really unique position, and I really mean what I've just said above. In fact, I get to speak to a lot of investors from all sorts of different education, training, coaching background out there, and I get a very good view of things from all the one-on-one demo calls that I've done. Now, you may want some social proof. Head over to pebblerei.com/Travis and check out Travis's wall of love on his testimonial page. And while you're there, you can also learn more about Travis's training programs and his exclusive mastermind. So simply head over to www.pebblerei.com/Travis for more information. I love that. And I think people are underutilizing or undervaluing leveraging team members. I think there's this sort of notion of I want to automate everything, and it's like you don't know what you need to automate, and honestly, that a lot of times introduces a lot more complexities than to have somebody manage it. And it's probably going to cost you cheaper and less time to work with somebody until you've reduced it. I typically say until you've reduced it or simplified it enough that you can automate it and you don't need to worry about maintaining it. I think that is something worth automating. But a lot of times I think like you're saying, Paul, working with people is a lot of times way more powerful. So I love that. And obviously making sure you document. You mentioned Loom. I'm going to make sure to include this in the show notes here. So I've lost a bit of my train of my thought here, but so you're doing a couple deals now. You're helping other land investors get systemized here, which I think is so cool that you're doing. You're still doing the whole firefighting thing as well.
Yep.
Let me ask you this question here. A lot of people still ask me this, and I think about you a lot of times. Where should people land invest when they first get started?
Tricky question. Here's two sides. Here's two sides to the coin. You have to kind of figure out what property you're looking for. Are you looking for buy for 1,000, 2,500, sell for 4 to 10? Yeah. Or are you looking for $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 purchase, sell for up to 150 grand? That will kind of dictate where you go. I used to be go find the absolute busiest, most congested, most land investors out there, and go there. Because if they're doing deals and there's a lot of deals happening, then you can also find them and do them. And worst case scenario, you can wholesale a property off to another investor if you just aren't feeling it or can't get it marketed. I still say that has a lot of merit for someone who's never been an entrepreneur, never done real estate investing. It's a safe, easy way, especially if you haven't graduated to the OPM, using other people's money version yet. If you're only using your own to self-fund, absolutely go find busy counties, grab some deals, grab a wholesale or a land arb from another investor and try it. See what happens. You're probably going to sell it on owner financing, which is awesome. You get to see whether you like that or not. And then go for there. But as I talk to more and more investors, I kind of feel that they start there, and then eventually, once they know what they don't know, they figure that out, they kind of graduate up and they look for more larger purchase, use other people's money, sell with realtors and agents, and go from there. And that approach is 100% data driven. So we use things like price.com, Zillow, Redfin, Lands of America, all those sites to narrow in price points and targets. And price.com has a great research function, so you can narrow in counties, right? And then you just set your filters up however you want. I think starting though in the other version, you don't know what you want unless you actually went through a training course that actually taught that specifically. So once you get there and figure out what your criteria is, that will dictate where you mail, right? And it'll be some counties you would have never thought of, right? I've come across some counties, I'm like, that hits my price point. I'm going to mail. Let's see what happens. And, sometimes they work out, sometimes they don't.
Yeah. Yeah. And for those of you guys who are wondering, it's Price with a YD. So PRYCD. Awesome folks there. Max and Ryan, a big shout out to you guys for building a great system over there. So definitely do check that out. We'll conclude that in the show notes. Now, Paul, I don't know if you still do this, but I was perusing on your site. Actually, there's a couple things that we need to fix up on your site for you. But I noticed you were accepting. I'm totally jumping over the topic. I only got like a few minutes to catch up with you here, right? You're accepting crypto. Is that still true? And tell me about that, please.
So it's odd. So you're on my selling site. My selling site is pretty much dormant because I don't really do my own selling anymore, right? We're pushing that all off. So it's there just kind of holding space, and it's got 3 years of history, right? At the time, yes, I did have someone offer crypto at the time. So I'm like, well, if one person does it, maybe more will. So I had a VA create that real quick and threw it up, and no one has hit me up about that at all. So one guy said, I've got some Bitcoin. Can I buy it? And then he, we got going and he ghosted me. He took off. But I said, hey, why not? I mean, pay him, $5 and he came with a nice banner. We threw it on there and
I love
why
it.
not? What the heck? The world's going that way. So you might as well get ahead of the game, right?
And I think that's a point to be made here. I mean, the way that the world is going, things continue to change in land. I mean, look at where you were when we spoke a year and a half ago and where you are now. We have to realize as business owners, I say this over and over, there is no winning formula. It is what you make of it, and it is your journey. So please, when you come out of these education platforms, know that you are on your own to make your own decisions and have fun with it. Experiment. In fact, that's what I want to throw at you, Paul. What are you currently experimenting with? What are you trying?
So, you know me, I love the automation stuff. So every time I see a new automation tool that I think might work, I jump on it. My actual current kind of tinkering is bookkeeping, right? So I think that's kind of a thing in the space where there's not almost not a day go by that I don't see someone asking for a bookkeeper. So I'm kind of experimenting with bookkeeping for investors in real estate with the focus on getting things automated. So it's simple for you to get your books to your accountant at the end of the
Right.
year to kind of streamline that. So I'm kind of working on a few things, tinkering, kind of figuring that out, and then maintaining sites, helping people with websites, whatever, tinkering to kind of get myself refreshed and back into the land. And then we're taking land kind of slowly. I'm trying to build out the systems, process, and people now because I have a little bit of capital from the last run to kind of put into it and get things done right so that
Yeah.
my time is not sunk where it shouldn't be sunk. So,
How are you sort of evaluating to get people in place?
so I am definitely doing the who, not how, and it's definitely recommendation based, right? So I've hired enough people now where I kind of know what I'm looking for, but I'm kind of just looking for recommendations from people who might be needing more work because I'm also learning those who have been in the land space before. If you can grab someone, those are my best VAs. So my three best VAs had been in land before, had extra time. I grabbed onto them, and now
Yeah.
they're running their own companies doing things now. So those have been some of my best hires. So I'm kind of reverting back to that, trying to find people who have other VAs that have other time, which is why I'm not in a hurry. So as I find them, I will put them into place, and I'm not going to grow anything faster than I can handle on 5, 10 hours a week max.
I love that. Now, how do you recognize what roles in your company needs people to sit in?
So the version I am in, I have learned there are probably going to be really one main person that I'm going to need, and it's going to be some type of an acquisitions manager. So someone to take once it comes in through Pebble, and I qualify. Yep, this looks like a good one because I take like 2 minutes, look at some access, look at some maps, look at a floodplain real quick, and then once I'm good with it, I move it to another stage, and
Right.
that's where my hopeful eventual VA hire will come from, and they'll take it. They'll do the call, they'll do the comps, they'll do a little bit of negotiations, and they'll get it, ready to go so that at that point I can send it off to my funding partner so that they can review it to see if it's something that they're willing to move on.
Awesome.
So
Awesome.
I think I'm going to be down to one, maybe a second one down the road to do just kind of clean up and like general maintenance, like a office kind of
Yeah.
paperwork and stuff like that. But I think one is all I'm going to need.
I love that. I love how you're finding so much clarity and simplifying things for yourself. That sounds like exactly what you're doing. But um, now that you sort of had a look over and sort of this version 2.0 of Paul Brewer and his land business, have you thought of any goals, long-term goals? I'm sure you sort of started recognizing that goals are probably shape shifting all the time. So nothing set in stone here. But have you thought about that?
Right.
And can you share a little bit about what the goals you have in mind are right now?
Yeah, definitely things have changed. Family life and structure has changed. So our family's in a new trajectory. My kids are getting ready to, one son's got 2 years of high school. My son's got 2 years of high school left. So that kind of
Wow.
changes things. So my goal is to have I'm 41. So by 45 to have the land business going without me having to do much so that if anything happens at my fire job, hurt, sick, I'm just done. I can leave and we're totally fine. It's like nothing happened. And then obviously my 9 year goal is to retire at 50 from that career and just do the land to kind of make up the little bit for retiring early and leaving some of a pension on the table. So those are kind of my long-term goals. They're in flux. My wife's just getting back into the working field now, so we'll kind of see how that goes with her, and we'll just kind of play things kind of loose for a little while.
I love that. I love that. I absolutely love that. Paul, one of the things about this conversation is I feel like like again, I haven't chatted with you for almost 2 years now, and it feels like you've done a lot of thinking and you're quite concise with the things you want and need and have a lot of clarity. At the end of the day, it just sounds like you have found a lot of clarity here. But can you leave our listeners with, any sort of big learnings that you've taken away here? I know you shared a ton of learnings here in the last 25 minutes, but any sort of big learnings that you can sort of share with our listeners here?
I think the biggest thing is to, before you really get started, write down your number one goal with your business. Is it to leave a job? If it's to leave a job, what's the time frame? Is it, do I just need a little extra for, a vacation or to pay some bills off? Okay. Once you figure that out, whatever, because everybody goes through some kind of a training or a coaching program, right? Very few people just jump in, have the wherewithal, unless you've been in business before, just to jump in and do it yourself. So once you figure out who your mentor is, make sure you have your clear goals and paths set so that they can help you get there. That was my biggest mistake. I went into my coaching just thinking they were going to give me everything, but I had no real clear vision. So once I got out of it, I was kind of like, now where do I go? And that's why I dove in head first in all the wrong ways, spending 60 hours a week. At my height, it was 60 hours a week at the firehouse and 60 hours a week on the land business. So it didn't leave much time for family or anything else, sleep, eating, and anything else. So make sure your goals are set, and don't be afraid to put a pause and a hold and reevaluate regularly. I reevaluate quarterly. When you're starting out, I would reevaluate monthly and just give it a little, so literally sit down and have a talk with yourself. Okay, did I meet XYZ goals? Are things going the way I want them to go? What can I do better? Who do I need in my processes to make things go better? So that's my biggest thing, because not doing that will lead to burnout, frustration, and you leaving. Of my first training I did, I only think 5 or 6 continued on. The rest that I kind of kept track of for a while just kind of faded off into the ether somewhere and never really picked it up. So, and that's what happened. No clear goals.
Paul has gone to the other end for us. I mean, I remember we were talking, he did 14 deals while he was stationed for 14 days fighting the forest fires out in California. He's literally done it. He's done it for us. He went to that extreme end. So please, I hope that some of you guys that are listening, and I've definitely learned some things speaking to you, Paul. You can clearly see, I'm connecting on a lot with a lot of what you're saying here. He's gone to the end for us. Get clear on your goals here, Paul. I want to say thank you very much for taking time out of your day, your family, your job to come out here and share with us. You always share so much. You are the type that continues to give, and I think the community needs more people like you, and it's just an honor to have someone like you on this show to be able to catch up. So, Paul, once again, thank you for coming back here and sharing with us some of your learnings this past couple years.
Absolutely.
All right, Paul, take care.
Thank you, guys. Take care. Bye.
Hey, Paul. So I forgot to mention here, if people wanted to reach out to work with you, you are working with other land investors on really that next level of systemizing, getting automations in place. What's the best way they can reach you, and also what should they expect out of this?
Yeah, so 2 places. You can go right into the Pebble REI Slack channel. I'm in there. You can find me, just my first name, Paul. I'm in there. And then if you want to email me, it's Rise, REI Solutions. It's Paul at risereisolutions.com. And you can shoot me off an email and we'll reach out. Everything I do is customized for the investor. So if you want to reach out, we'll sit down, we'll do a quick Zoom call. You'll show me, tell me exactly what you want, and then I will work out a system for you and quote you based on that. So there's no just package for anything. I don't do anything without about a 30-minute call to chat with you and figure out what you need, because there are some things, shockingly, that I can't do, but I will point you in the right direction.
I love that. Okay, Paul, you've heard it. If you want to take it to that next level, Paul's your person here. I'm going to include it in the show notes. Paul, thanks very much. Before you stop this episode or hit the next episode, I want to personally thank you for listening to this episode of the Land Investing Business Secrets podcast by Pebble. If you found this helpful, we'd greatly appreciate any awesome reviews and ratings on whichever platform you are listening to this on. And if you have 2 minutes and wanted to step it up even more and help others, feel free to share this in other Facebook groups or pages or any communities, giving others a heads up of the Land Investing Business Secrets podcast or the specific episode that may help them on their land investing journey. Once again, thanks so much for listening, and catch you on our next episode.